Mm-hmm.
And hello, everybody. This is Alkavash, Pharaoh, Culture Shock. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back again this week. Very much. Channel. Everyone who's following us along. Unfortunately, Pluggy Hero is unwell. Well, I'm also moving story. So we're going to manage that as best that we can. Before I start, does anybody have any questions they want, or things they want to cover?
I want to thank you for XP. Oh yeah. The dungeon at our group, the artists. One of them was asked how long they had to do. I don't know what things you're talking about. They were tasks. Serve Caldor. They don't necessarily have to. But that would be if they were going to be released from jail, they had to put themselves to betterment of themselves and those around them. So I'm going to ask that group, because we'll be leaving, Caldor's still in the process of getting itself set up, also has no standing army, so I'm going to ask them to make sure that there's no economic meddling, like people deciding, yeah, I'm going to screw up this new economic trade that we've just started, the scavenger songs that we're slowly setting up, those political discussions are happening, more people are coming into the region. They're going to be the taskmasters to make sure that no one behind the scenes decides to start screwing with Caldor while it's still in its growing phase. So
Okay, pretty simple.
they've got a job, but they've still got free will.
Still.
Yeah. You think they're gonna have it forever? Ah.
Yet. Also, I think I've just fixed the noise gate. It's picking us up properly now.
Oh, lovely.
Yay! Kel and Culture, anything else you want to cover quickly before we begin?
Are we heading back to Caldor to wrap anything up before we move into the new plotline?
So story-wise, you would have gone back to Caldor, wrapped up stuff, and then left. Because Plucky's not around, I didn't want to involve Caldor on screen so much because it would require him to be there. So if we could just vaguely describe what I was going to do was vaguely describe how it got wrapped up, and then move on to the next section with him, with Kayla staying behind.
Okay.
Is the plan.
I would like to clarify what exactly my relationship status is with Enfilade before we go.
Do you ask her?
It's complicated.
Yeah. I realize with her, blunt and direct is best, so I would just literally say, what is the relation status between us at this moment and going forward once we leave?
I really don't know how to answer that question. I mean, like, you're an item.
Are they monogamous?
She has no reason to go around banging anybody else. If it comes up, she'll probably ask, or bring it up or something. I don't know.
Arthur's just a girlfriend.
So the relationship is that you are yourself, and also the party you're with, an interesting case study for her, with her, following on from the teachings of Yunin, with the webs of interconnectedness. And sorry, one moment. Yeah. Are you just coming in to say hi? Because we're recording at the moment, buddy.
No.
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 Have to go.
Buddy, don't do that. Call under, please.
Sorry, that's the Hi, what have you got here that I can ask for? It's all good.
Oh, he's so upset.
Meanest mum ever.
Okay, so, it's not like you're a subject of her inquiry, and so therefore she's keeping you on the thumb. Like, it's like, no, like, she likes the fact that she has a relationship with you, that's good. But also she's getting study out of it, and she's taking copious notes about everything. She probably won't follow you if you leave Kaldor, but she's effectively I wouldn't necessarily systemize her as like a contact or ally, but she's someone you know and are technically in a relationship with.
Sure.
If you want to continue that.
He would.
There you go.
It's just that she can be a little... Oh... She can be very en flood, let's just say that. So I can just see her be like, so what's going on? It's like, well, you're leaving, and that ends the contact between us. And then I'm going to do rigorous case studies. It's like, oh, okay. both were likely outcomes with her. But yeah, he would be interested if she could try and send status updates about Kaldor, because Arthashasta is interested both in, you know, the effectiveness of what they've done there, the ramifications of all of his geomantic meddling to see if that has any larger impacts. And he's also curious about what she's doing with Yunnan and what their goal is for Kaldor.
Okay, so their general goal for Kaldor is mostly to make sure that that their investment pays off. So she's going to maintain the manse, make sure that sort of stays well in hand, all that sort of stuff. So she's mostly there just to make sure that nobody messes it up. And then once that's sort of laid down and people have accepted that sort of thing, then they can move on. They're not necessarily looking at sort of doing long-term infrastructure changes or anything like that. What was the second part of that question?
And if there's going to be any ramifications for all of the shenanigans we performed.
No. So they're not like undoing anything you've done or anything like that. They're just sort of making sure that the status quo remains quo. But as to what she was doing here with Yuna in the first place, they're actually stopping by on their way somewhere else. They were heading down further south to the border, towards where Vanahar is, because there's been reports of some virulent plagues coming along and people have been dying, and they're sort of just heading on down there to study it and see if they can help.
Well, if she wants to send any information Arthashasta's way about that, he's happy to help. He is a trained physician.
Cool. She will keep in touch. Yunnan is a source. She's also right.
I think she wasn't, but Yunnan was.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, so they'll get in contact with you if they need anything or want anything. Tarala.
Actually, there's going to be two things. One, Tarala is also going to ask Amphalad if, since Amphalad knows that she's a dragon blood, that's the thing. She could kind of keep that sort of hush hush for now, just because it's one of those things where she's like, I'm possibly in the. She's possibly gonna have to be working on getting a new identity, so in case she runs into Jonas, new disguises. But you know, it's just family, like bad blood in the family, that sort of thing. And if they can't find me, better.
Okay, cool.
And she's also gonna check in just to make sure Marcus is okay, because you know, at that point she practically considers him family by virtue of, you know, one of the last few positive connections to her dad. Make sure that he's all right, everything's going well, like that sort of thing, just to check in on him.
All right, cool. That'll be covered in the last time-ish thing.
Excellent.
Cool.
Spilled stuff on myself.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Gama Kamasenin for his help with Alexander Marcus, because we didn't really know what we were doing, so it was nice that we asked for help and
Got it.
because I asked for help a while ago and he didn't turn up. So I guess I'd ask, is that like because he wasn't allowed, or because he couldn't, or was he busy? Like, did I offend him to find out for the future? Because that pipe was really cool.
Okay, well, essentially, the answer is he's on duty.
Okay.
And until his duties aligned with whatever it was he was doing, he was not incapable as in physically incapable, but like incapable insofar as if he did interfere, then like he would get censured.
Yeah.
There's a very specific job to be doing, and he was doing it. Fortunately for him and you, helping Marcus ended up through rigmarole of the explanation he gave about having to help Shoof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that allowed him to help you and intercede in a legal way.
Okay. Is that a lot of gods in this region have this sort of?
You have no way of knowing.
No, I'm asking. I'm flat out asking him. Is this how god politics work? Are the gods tasked with looking after places that it's theirs, so to speak? I'm trying to gauge.
It's not uncommon.
Yeah. Is Shoof his, or is it in the same way that, the Ebulant Excelsior is mine and I will protect it and look after it and its interests? Or is he does he belong to Shoof?
He has been assigned to Shoof.
Okay. Cool.
Any other questions before we go?
Are we on good terms? Is he, not...
Him?
Yeah. Not insulted by us needing to ask for help?
I'd say you haven't walked away enemies,
Cool.
but you probably haven't walked away friends.
Cool. You okay?
Yeah, I was just looking at Kel's camera, is that blurry towards the top? I don't know, it's weird.
It's the
Is it
lens
blurry?
flare.
Oh, okay, right.
The light in the kitchen is making a Star Trek effect.
1 second.
I'm just gonna quickly check my notes to see if there was anything else that needed
There we go.
addressing. The Onyx Master of the Ashen Path.
Yes.
We're going back. Is that something we're covering in thingy?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I can't think of anything to do. Other than on the way back, make sure that I actually have picked up gifts for everyone. I have travelled a very long way to Shajan and back. I need to bring gifts.
Okay.
It's an extra barge with 3,000 trinkets all on it. It's good.
So the first story has come to its conclusion. I gave some out-of-story experience. The way that it's going to be working is normally when the Exalted characters have spent a certain amount of experience, in this case 50, they increase their essence to 2. What we're going to be doing is once they have spent their requisite experience, they're going to have to go through some kind of event, either doing some sort of secluded monk training or some sort of perception awakening kind of training, or going through some sort of when I say traumatic event, I don't mean like drama, oh my god my heart is breaking traumatic, but just like Dragon Ball Z style, oh no I really have to beat that guy and I probably need Essence 2 to do it, bam, Essence 2 sort of thing. Just reach your limits, go beyond, plus ultra.
Woo.
Okay, so with all that out of the way, I think it's time to start because we've been chatting for about 20 minutes now. So, our crew has spent a long time in Kaldor. Much longer than they probably intended. Several weeks, plus all of the travel that they did to go all the way to Sajan and back, just to find a solution to their problem. The Realm Legion that had somehow coalesced into one large contingent, horrible, disgusting beast thing. With the Onyx Lord in tow, they're able to properly sanctify the tree that it's bound within and bury it within the swamp, such that it is given proper rest and given time, so long as it's not disturbed within the next 100 years, they guess, that it will pass on eventually. But given the new measures taken place and the burial of it, it should not sort of break apart spontaneously. Someone would actually have to come out here, dig it up, break it open for this thing to escape. So it's going to take about 100 years for this thing to dissolve, but for the moment it's contained, it's buried, it can be washed over. Alexander Marcus has been, through the help of Garma Karmasenon, has been freed of the additional soul tagged onto his body, Phoebus. So Phoebus has been freed and has passed on. And Alexander Marcus has been granted the exigence that has been left behind for him by Formica, and has accepted that mantle. And is undergoing a new journey for himself, finding himself revivified, this second breath that he's taken, helping him start a new chapter in his life so he can press forward and protect his kingdom even more so, whilst he looks for a successor. Actually, what did you want to do with Jonathan? Did you decide?
Well, with Marcus, probably as in Alexander Marcus, have a conversation, which is his son Jonathan ended up going into sorcery because he was so lonely. He missed his grandmother, and his dad wasn't there for him. His dad had pulled away from grief from the loss of his wife. With this new life that's been injected into him, is one of, because his priority used to be like defining Jonathan. I'm assuming that's still there. Probably have a talk to him and be like, you know, you've got a second chance here to not just to continue being the king that you have been made into, but the father as well. To, you know, pay attention to him, not just hope that he's grazing into a good boy. Spend time with him. He's into sorcery. Everything. Yes, you can. Everything that Jonathan has gone through, he needs someone to talk to, and friends are good, and both, like all the Marcuses have friends, you know, in us, but he needs his dad, and he needs Jonathan.
Okay.
So,
Jonathan cries.
good.
There's a nice hugging powwow going on. Now, the Kingdom of Caldor has been left relatively ravaged by the events that have taken place, both preceding your arrival and the events that have taken place while you've been here. So, what Kalis Kadan has proposed and initiated, he's going to stay behind here with Righteous Lotus to make sure this gets done, is to bolster the forces of Caldor without necessarily telling everyone that they are out of soldiers, is to basically set up a society, essentially, of people who need to move away, who are either just immigrating or who are criminals who have been cast out of their respective kingdoms or don't know what to do with, political prisoners, all those sorts of things. Just the unwanted, the people who you sort of have sitting around in your jails and you're spending money keeping alive because basic human rights and all that, but are really just sort of a drain on your society's resources. He's proposed to accept all of those and make of them a new tribe that would be here specifically not just for Caldor, but the whole border against Vanaheim, to create a sort of an elite fighting force that would help defend the border wherever they are needed. Although starting here in Caldor to try and help defend Keith. So he's going to stay behind and do that. Enfilade and Unin will be staying behind to finish their business. Then they're going to be heading south towards the villages that I mentioned earlier. The various diplomats that had visited will be leaving with pretty much nothing. The King Marcus has accepted the proposal of Core, and so he's giving over to them some amount of control, and they're going to be injecting some of Core's resources here into the kingdom so they can re-establish themselves a little bit better. And with all that done, all that's really left is this notion that has been implanted into the diplomats of this idea of the melodious melee, of this singing and dancing competition, if they going off to their respective kingdoms to put forward or discuss, and that might take a little bit of time to brew and bear fruit, grow and bear fruit, I should say, not brew. You don't brew a plant. What do you do?
Brew and bear beer.
So that could take some time. So there's very little left here in the kingdom for you to deal with, unless you want to get into the nitty-gritty of things. Other than that, you probably should head back to Lambert Heights and report to your benefactor.
Okay. Before leaving, I'm going to be sure to give Mason a trinket with a attached story of having gone to the one, all the way to Sejan and the ghosts of this and the feelings of the past, and present him with it's a trinket, but it is from Sejan, that it's been imbued with the feelings and memories and appreciation of the mistress that he has cared for and held her secret for so long. So it's like it's a locket, but it's like a little secret keeper, so you can put messages inside.
Okay.
And so I present that to him, having spoken to the wise people, and it's actually from Celine, but I went and got it for him. It's complete bullshit, but inspired to make him, that it is from the mistress that he has served loyally for so long, that he is honoured and respected.
Oh my gosh. I did forget to mention something. On the nights before you left to Sejan, the mists stopped appearing in Caldor, and have not appeared since. No one has seen or heard from Celine since then, but their veneration of her continues. If Garmakanan Senna knows anything, he certainly hasn't said so. And that brings us to the group heading back to... Would you be taking your troop with you?
Yeah, we'll need to resupply back in Lambert Heights.
Cool. So, there's a journey that you go through, heading back to Lambert Heights. Nothing drastic or melodramatic happens on that journey. But as you're leaving Cal, you've only been gone for a month, but you can see that the ground here is already starting to toughen itself up. The soil is starting to, I was going to say dry out, but not like become dry and brittle, but like drier than muddy slush, so that it's just this, soft, earthy crumbliness. Earth is good. The land is starting to live again. It's not being slowly chipped away. It's breathing once more, and life and colour is starting to return to it. So Caldor is seeing a new dawn rise on its borders. In Lambert Heights, while you've been gone, Unsure Root has been busy. He has been working on expanding not just his influence, but also his portfolio as well. He's been making great inroads into getting additional helpers, getting other kingdoms and nations to provisionally sign in to his proposed treaties, to try and bring together and unite the 100 Kingdoms. There's a long way to go, but he's getting at least some interest, especially given the success that you've had in Caldor. A lot of the benefits that have happened with Caldor have been attributed to the intervention by Lambert Heights. Now, you have maybe a week of rest and relaxation, doing whatever it is you want to do, before Unsure Root approaches you again as a group to task you with a new adventure that he's going to do. Is there anything you'd like to do in that time before he approaches you?
Train an elephant.
Train an elephant.
Gregor.
Is it grey gore, or like the color
Gregor.
grey gore yucky, or is it like Gregor as in?
It's a pun. Like, instead of Gregor, it's Gregor because it's a grey elephant.
And he will gore you.
He will gore you with his tusks. Okay, cool. Is there any system things we need to do with your training, or do you have that squared away already?
If you feel like I need to make a roll, I don't. The rules are slightly buried. I'm going through real
It's
quick.
like a month's worth of training takes a week, and a week's worth takes a day. Like, survival's pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess for you the question is, so Gregor's a bit of a unruly, undisciplined young elephant. So I'm not really trying to tame him to do a specific trick. I'm just trying to get him slightly more domesticated. I'm trying to lay the groundwork for him becoming my familiar.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if you want me to do any rolls. I do have charms like beast mastering behavior.
What we might, if you're trying to form a familiar bond with him, what we might do is cover that through interactions in play. So you've got your charms that basically get him to follow you and kind of do what you ask him to do. So you can, if you want to teach him specific tricks and things, you do need to make rolls for those. But generally speaking, you know, spending a week familiarizing yourself with him, he's become comfortable with you, so you can, you know, like ride on him, for example, or direct him around, or get him to do simple tasks, like, you know, push that, lift that, sort of thing. He's probably not necessarily combat trained at the moment, although he will defend himself. That's something you'll need to do in-game as well. But as long as you build up your bond with him in-game, by interacting with him, by including him in your stories, then that familiar bond will take place over time.
Perfect.
Cool. Drala?
Oh, you're muted?
Sorry, Kelly, you're muted.
Phil's just on my end. No, we can't hear you.
Can you hear him, Culture?
Nope.
No! Oh, I can see a little thing coming up. Try now. No, can't hear you.
No.
How about now?
There we go.
Yes.
So for some reason, Discord suddenly decided to not realize my microphone was detected, and I had to put it back in. Fun. Okay, well, anyway. I was gonna have, since now there's no longer the danger of giant ghosts, things like that, Tarala's gonna try to sit down and have a little chat with Hand about, hey, so how long have you been working with Striking Bolting?
20 years.
That's
Actually,
a conversation we should have.
actually a bit longer, closer to 23. He starts telling you the story of how when he was about 12 years old, he approached Striking Bullpeen and said, his creations are amazing, except wouldn't it be more amazing if he did it for me? And by pure luck and charisma, he happened to agree, and we have been traveling together ever since.
Alright, so Tarala is going to take all that in, and asks, so, you know, he does all these clothing, things like that. What about weapons?
Pretty much anything. A lot of the, and he points out, like, the spring-loaded things that he has, the extra pockets, the fire dust things that are made for hair, he can do it all. he primarily works with like tailoring because that's where the money was. About 2 decades ago it was, but a lot of what he was doing was just pompous nobles just saying, "I like pink." There wasn't really any challenge in that. So Sagacious Hand and his relationship seems to rely mainly on like a shared sense for challenge, and so Sagacious Hand will go to him and say, "Is it possible for how do you make me fly?" He's like, "That's impossible. No one can get that done." I'm like, "Nothing's impossible, so there is your challenge. Can you do it?" He's like, "Of course I can do it, but damn it!" So after a rambling thing of like the ridiculous lengths that they've gone to through their time together, it's like, yes, he can make weapons. We do it for props for the show, especially if they require going in. So and he picks up one of the knives and just does the blah and there's nothing. So he specializes more in like the hidden things. My favorite of which being pockets.
Tarala nods and at this point, it's probably, if you want to do read intentions, you could. She's like, okay. And kind of backs off from there.
I will be right back if you want to continue this conversation.
My legs up. Could you bring me back another drink, please? Thank you. So Sagacious Hand will ask, why you kind of, glances at, Arancellus? Is that the name of your sword?
Yeah, well, it's not this. It's, so you remember the night you found that we joined up?
Yeah, kind of see it into memory, yeah.
Yeah. I've been having dreams about it.
Is that because of the stunt in the ballroom? I'm so sorry.
No, this is something else. The first happened while I was unconscious due to somebody throwing a denture at me.
Yeah.
Which is still horribly embarrassing that a dragon blood got took out by dentures.
Well, dentures encompass many teeth. This is just one.
Yeah, that makes it even more embarrassing. But so that night, and it keeps happening. I'm not sure what to put in as far as dreams go, but I'm sure Arthur Shasta would say that as an Exalt, I have to pay attention to them. The dream keeps ending as I'm looking down at this, the moment I exalt, the moment everything happened, I'm looking down and I see one of those swords, and it's got his sigil on it. And it was a sword carried by those that cut down my family.
Striking ball peen sigil.
She nods.
Well, okay, knee-jerk reaction. That's impossible. I don't know how many that he made before we joined up. He is older than me, as I said, been together since 20 years. Was it an old sword? Was it the one sword? Were there many swords? Did it? And he picks up the thing. Did it do this? Sorry, I'm not meaning to make light of the situation so much as
So, Elk, in the dream, it wasn't like a prop sword. It was a genuinely real. This is a weapon designed to murder a person.
Yes, people really died when they got stabbed and slashed with these things.
Yeah.
did they? Yes.
Yes. Yes, they did.
Okay.
Or
So
did they?
yeah, she basically says it was genuinely real sword. It was well made. It was it was clearly designed for war. It wasn't designed for show. It wasn't designed for it wasn't designed for the stage. It wasn't designed for performance fighting. It was designed to be balanced and end of life.
That sounds like someone's trying to frame striking ball ping.
You're saying someone's going into my head trying to...
No, I'm saying that if you saw a blade with that on it, I'm not doubting your memory, I'm doubting the fact that this is someone that I've known almost my entire life, and he wouldn't do that. I'm aware of most contracts he has, and I think. No, he wouldn't. Do you want to ask him?
I'm hesitant right now. Again, it's dreams. I don't know how much stock to put into them. Again, I'm sure Arthur Shasta would say put all the stock in them because we're Exalts, but...
Look, when I first met Arthur Shasta, he helped me remember things that otherwise I couldn't have. If you would like to go into your dreams in a state where you are not unconscious, in the having suffered concussion, he'd be able to help you. We worked together, did kind of this dream walk thing. That light, that when we first met that night, I'd never seen that before. And so hanging around with Kalis and DeNovo, and when they're speaking about exaltation, even Arthur Shasta, I didn't know what that was. I thought that was what they were talking about, that golden light of the unconquered sun and all of that. I didn't know what they meant was not the little candle that we shared so much as the giant glowing Kirin that night in Kaldor. So if you want to unlock what's going on, whether it's a metaphor for something, if it's an actual memory, he's the one to talk to. All I can offer is, I honestly, striking ball ping he's one of the good ones.
And that's why I don't want to be accusatory. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it before bringing it up to him, because, like I say, I'm getting to a point where it's very hard to trust my own memory of what all happened, so that's why I'm coming to you. I mean, you're my best friend, and...
Also, we kind of touched on it while everything was crazy in Kaldor, but I don't have a great memory of things either. About a lot of things. So, thank you for sharing it with me. I'll do what I can. Do you want me to talk to him about it and ask? Or do you want to think about it more and see what more you remember?
I think I'll think about it a little bit more. Maybe I'll talk to Arthur Shasta about how to read what's going on in my dreams and all that.
Are you going to be okay around here?
Again, I have no reason to suspect that, like you said, he's done contracts from before he met you. I don't know. It could just be an old, well-made blade. But I just wanted to make sure that, to know if it's something he's done before, if it's the type of project he's worked on before. But again, I'm not saying... don't think I'm saying that he masterminded my family's demise, because... Wow, rude. But, again, it's a dream. It was a dream thing, and I wanted to just, I needed to tell somebody.
Thank you for trusting me. That night was kind of hectic and crazy all around, so... are you going to be okay? Do you want me to come with you to help figure out it? Like, I was there. I don't remember blades. I mostly remember fire and vomiting and... I don't know.
Can you please make an intelligence roll?
Oh, yes, that would be... Anything else with the intelligence?
No, just intelligence.
That is 2 dice. Average.
No successes.
Oh. Yep. Sigurdsson will reiterate that however far you want to look into this or not look into it, I'll support you. If you want to kick down someone's door and politely walk through and accuse them of anything, I'm there for you.
Oh, God, he did do that, didn't he?
Sorry, I missed what you said.
And she just reminisced of what happened. Like, he did do that, didn't he? I'm glad that turned out all right.
We could always kick down Arthur-Shasta's door and see what he's up to.
I mean, I think, and she just, I think he's training an elephant right now.
Has been for the past week.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame him. Elephants are awesome.
Thank you. No, everyone keeps saying, why not a Yedam? Yedams carry more. I'm like, no, they don't. Yedams eat more. And so Sigurdsson moves into the tangent of trying to lighten up the conversation with the amazing stories of elephants and the stuff that they can do. And the journeys, like, oh my gosh, remember this? And trying to make Tarala feel a little bit better through an epic amount of distraction.
I was just gonna say she's smiling. She understands what's going on, but she appreciates it, and she says, you know, maybe after we learn what Root has next for us, maybe then I'll talk to Arthur Shasta.
Do you trust him?
Trust who? Arthur Shasta?
Arthur Shasta.
I mean, why wouldn't I? He's one of the
I hate
few-
when
he's
people
one of the
say
few-
that, because then I try and think of the circumstances in which someone might not.
Let me put it this way. Karenthar doesn't have any problem with him. And that is a very finicky horse. So, I'd say he's good people. I trust my horse.
Well, I, for one, am not going to argue with Karenthar.
Yeah, it's also very hard to argue with him, since mostly it just comes out like... And I just don't know how to answer that.
Sorry, headphone users.
I'm like, I'll do it down here. Oh wait, the microphone's down there.
Okay, so you get a few good laughs in from your banter when oh gosh, I hurt my knuckle on the week and I forgot, and now I just knocked on the thing with it. Oh, there's a knock on the door. This sort of small slip of a boy.
Hey, is it Arthur?
No, it's not Arthur.
Oh.
No, it's his name is Era, and you know him as just one of Root's. Like, he just has people who do things for him, and Era just happens to be like a messenger boy. Just sort of almost like a cabin boy on a ship. He just sort of does an odd job. He's a gopher. If that makes sense.
Go for this. And
Go for that.
that.
Yes, exactly. And he comes and just let you know that Master Root would like to talk with you in his study when you're next available. And he said to please bring your friend.
Which
You know this about Era? He's from some Far East barbarian tribe. He's just got rescued and that sort of thing, so he's still learning River Speak, and so it's quite broken. Arthra. Shh. Thanks for the follow, Miss Blitz. Shas.
Yeah.
Taralla's giving him a big smile, like, you can do it, you can do it.
Shas Ta.
Like,
All together.
yeah!
All together.
Yep.
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 Yep. Uh-huh.
Yep. Uh-huh.
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 Uh-huh. This is great fun.
This is great. Fun.
Thank you, Era. Era.
Yes.
Please tell Master Root we will be there anon.
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 Yes?
Yes.
No.
Uh-huh.
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 Off you go. Top pocket. There's a coin that's...
Closes the door. You hear that?
I love learning a new language. It is ridiculous. So, let's
No,
get
let's
ourselves
go.
ready and find Thra.
Oh. We don't need to. She's a sweet kid. We don't need to make fun of that. Come on.
It's less making fun and more that to be able to continually put together the full word, because I have been trying for about 13 months now, and I can't quite get a handle on his last name. It's quite a mouthful, but I can do the first one, so I feel proud of that, and I think we should at least general standard aim to try and get the first name down. Just general
Wait,
respect.
first off, what time is it? What time is it?
It is after breakfast.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you have gotten a mouthful of him.
Unfortunately, no. And you know, it's okay.
I'm sorry. You set that one up for me.
Set him up, knock him down.
But no, let's...
just the hair, and he smells nice. Well, he did. Let's go find him. Last I saw he was near Gregor, so dealing with elephants all day.
So when you eventually leave,
Lunchtime.
Arthur Shust is down in the courtyard, still doing some. He's got like this little, not a cane whack, but like just this little stick, and he's sort of just, tapping Gregor on the leg as he sort of lifts it up, taps up the top, puts it down. Just sort of basic little training, gives him some treats and things like that. You can tell he's been at it for a while because he's got sort of like bits of hay that have just smattered about his person.
Good morning, good morning.
Oh, hello.
Hello. We received a message from the illustrious Master Root that he would like to speak to us. So we thought we'd come down, collect you, hose you off. Not necessarily in that order. How's it going?
Well, to answer your question, I would think we'll take one of those items off your list, and he'll give a command to Gregor to suck up a bunch of water in his trunk and just blast Arthur Shasta with it. And he just starts wringing out his hair, and he's like, "So, washing is now done."
Yay! Well done.
And this is the part where Arthur Shasta whips the hair back like he just got out of a pool, because you can't help but look amazing when you
White
get out
shirt
of a
is
pool.
just
Like, you just
pasted
got
to
covered
his
in
chest.
elephant snot. How do you look so good?
Gel.
Maximum hold.
I'm gonna like give Gregor like, oh, it's okay. You're doing so well. You're doing so well.
That's the sound
Terrell's
it
doing
makes.
the thing, like trying to hold out a hand for him to put the trunk in. You know, come on, shake, shake.
Just does that exploratory, you know, the
It's close enough to her. She doesn't realize the difference.
you get a little bit of that sort of slime on your hand from it, sort of exploring it.
Terrell is fine with it. She's a tomboy.
I'll arrange for Gregor to go back to his mum for a little while. His mother is Daisy.
Daisy and
Daisy.
Gregor.
Daisy's a good elephant name.
And yeah, ask if Arthur Shasta needs anything before we go and chat.
No. I think we should go and see Root. I'm sure whatever he has planned for us will be entertaining.
Okay.
So, Lambert Heights is a very standard fort. It's basically just like a small keep with a large courtyard in front of it, surrounded by high walls. When you first got here, the place was still in a state of more or less disrepair, but over the weeks that you've been away and have now returned, you can see they've made significant strides in just shoring up the sort of scaffolding around the inside of the walls. They've cut new stone and they've had it shipped in, and they're starting to sort of put that up just to sort of reinforce everything and make it look a bit nicer than the sort of ramshackle form that it was when Root first moved in. As for Root's office, it's what would traditionally have been sort of the Lord's study. It's up a long flight of sort of spirally stairs, and this place is constantly in disarray. But Root has always insisted that it's organized chaos. There are just sort of papers and letters and things littered everywhere. There's half a dozen bookshelves with books in no particular order, sort of randomly shoved all sorts of different places. There's no sort of system as far as you can generally sort of discern. His desk has two large sort of what do I call them, metal candle holders, with these big thick tan candles that are sort of just sitting there burning. That's providing light for most of the room. Sort of behind him is this what do you call it? Shelf. I was trying to think of a better word than
A
shelf.
buffet?
Not a buffet. It's just like this little mantle. There we go. That's what it's for. Mantle. Sort of it's cut around what was probably once a fireplace, but has since been filled in. And he's just got sort of an assortment of things, some more scrolls and papers and things. There's this really weird sort of scuffed and bent metal spoon sort of just sitting amongst these sort of scattered belongings. And other than that, the only other things that aren't sort of paper and scrolls here is his inkwell that's sitting on the big desk, his enormous sort of feather pen. The feather, you're sure, has come from some sort of rare species of rock. It's just this enormous thing about as big as your forearm, although the nib is small and normally used. His staff is leaning up against the wall, and he's sort of just poring over some papers on the desk. A little box that has some sand. There's a wax candle for sealing things and a stamp. And otherwise, everything else is all just papers, writing, books, and scrolls. Or when you come in, he sort of just distractedly waves at you, the way he does. asks you to close the door, and from this, he's got this very sort of precious white jade china cup with this very precious white jade, not china, you know what I mean, creation equivalent, really nice porcelain. Sorry?
Tengies?
Yeah, tengies.
Tang?
Tengies. Some really nice white tengies, and some like a cup and a pot for tea. And he's poured himself some tea and sort of thrown a cube of sugar in there, and he sort of looks at it, sort of glances around, and sort of just starts swirling it with his hand, like as in just. Yes. You got my message. My messages. Yes. Good. You're all here. Great. Hi. So Caldor was a success. Thank you very much for that. It was great. We've made a lot of progress. How would you like to go on another mission?
Well, the first one had an awful lot more ghosts than was initially on the packaging. Did you know about that when you asked us to head on down there?
Oh no, not necessarily.
Read intentions. Is he about to send us into another death trap? That is perception and socialize. That is 5 dice. No.
What were you trying to get out of it? Like intimacy, or his intention for the scene?
His intention for the scene.
I mean, his goal has always been sort of the furtherance of this great alliance he's been sort of cocking up for however many years. So, I mean, you can be certain that whatever it is that he's going to send you in is going to further that cause. Beyond that, not really sure. No, the ghosts were unexpected. Exciting, though. Unexpected.
Tarala does that thing where, she kind of waves and then kind of waves. I'm like, I will admit, look, it's probably just the dragon in me, but I will admit it was kind of a fun fight.
That's in hindsight because you set everything on fire.
I mean, that's true. It was nice to cut loose.
So what is it that you need?
Oh, right, yes. So, I've been looking into expanding our influence, building our roster of capable sorts, such that I suppose I don't have to send you on all of the missions.
I got impaled on a wall, I'm not laughing. Sorry.
Right,
Root, that was awful.
How was I supposed to know? It was a simple diplomacy mission.
Yes, and it was anything but.
Well, I mean, is it as bad as you're thinking about? Like, you got to expand your network and help spread mirth and joy through the regions. I got to reattach a person's tongue, that was a new experience for me.
It was just aggressive diplomacy.
Oh, guys. A little support here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did something happen between there and here where you became infatuated with boring things? Like, Arthasasha seems like he's trying to make some cutting remark and realize, like, shit, that one got ahead of me.
Tarala pats him on the back. It's okay. Leave the quips to those of us who do jokes.
Yeah, I didn't know you referred to your mother that way. No? None? Cricket room. Alright.
We're good friends. We are friends. Don't let anything say otherwise. We're friends.
Yes, he just because he's got this long, straight, sort of almost greying hair, he sort of just pulls back away from his face, tucks it behind his ears. So as I was saying, I've been trying to expand our roster of capable sorts, and I've been tracking some reports of some unusual activity south of the Vanahan border, and I thought it would be in our best interest to look into such things and see if we can either develop some sort of alliance with those kinds of things, creatures perhaps, or stop Gensuji from taking advantage of them himself. Such either way benefiting the effort in general.
Would this be anywhere near where that plague is breaking out in southern Vanahar?
The plague. Oh, yes. I believe there was some scholarly sorts already checking that out. It's on the northern border of Vanahar, not quite across the border. It's on this side of the river. I mean, like, you could go check that out if you want, I suppose. It's not on my list, though.
No, I just want to make sure before we bring a large traveling city through a area full of unknown infectious diseases before they continue their way across the west, that we may want to take some sort of precautions. That's why I just wanted to confirm.
Oh, yes. Oh, goodness, no. Yes. About the train. So you'll be heading into the territory of Vanahar. Gensuji is on... You know, he's preparing for war. He's on alert. You are known allies of Lambert Heights. It would probably be best if you went somewhat under the radar.
Arthur Sessa kind of looks over at Hand to gauge his reaction to the idea of not being as outwardly fabulous at all times.
Yeah, I don't go below an 8.
This thing only goes to 11.
I feel that it is more a case of Lambert Heights being associated with the Ebullient Excelsior, and therefore all the best for it. But you do raise a good point because, again, stressing the wasn't expecting army full of ghosts in Caldor. I'm stuck on this. Not your fault. Absolutely agree. Kind of fun, but leaning more towards the terrifying white hair, blood-inducing curdling screams. I don't like ghosts. In case it isn't clear, I freaking hate the underworld. Did not want to stay there. Really sorry that you decided to stay there. Glad you at least ate something afterwards. Do not want another repeat of that. Yeah, you drink your tea.
I will, thank you.
Yeah.
You are, of course, not beholden to my wishes specifically. This is a partnership. You don't work for me. So you may do as you wish, of course. I do, however, have a few notes as to where to focus your efforts, such that we could, go about this in a structured and logical way, so as to mitigate any unforeseen pieces.
Impalements.
Yes, impalements. Yeah, of course. We wouldn't want that. So, if such a project does interest you, I can give you the full details, and then I guess you could be on your way. Does it interest you at all?
I looked at Arthur Shasta and Jade Phoenix Soul.
I mean, I trust him in that I don't think he's going to send us into yet another Shadowland. There's no Shadowland there, right?
Well, I couldn't completely discount the possibility that any Shadowland, but I wouldn't be sending you somewhere that is specifically ties to the. No. The most you would have to worry about is realm soldiers.
How realm soldiers?
Yeah, that's a.
Pertinent question. How many?
Starts going through some papers. It was about roughly a full legion.
Yeah, if
Okay,
you
so-
look at a piece of paper, that means there's more than you can count on one hand. Or two. Gosh,
So we will have to cut back on our make ourselves awesome powers, because, I mean, you guys, obvious reasons. Me, because then they'll try to recruit me.
What? Are there realm soldiers down south?
Yes.
Do you know why?
Yes. They appear to be investigating one of the points of interest in my research.
And
Alright.
what point of interest would that be, out of curiosity?
Of course. So they're on the eastern edge of the river that divides Vanaha from the Hundred Kingdoms. There's this village that has been not exactly plagued, but nuisanced by these strange grey goblin things. No one's really sure what they are. They don't really cause any trouble. They sort of just wander into town and don't eat and then die. But they keep appearing from this strange ruin up in the hills just outside of town. From the information that I've been able to gather, they seem to come from there in seemingly unending amounts. This has been going on for generations, but since they don't cause any problems in the town, they're just sort of accepted as a feature, a curiosity. But the legion I referred to is that's our kids being loud. Sorry. The legion I referred to is currently set up camp around the ruin. I suspect it's probably trying to enter, investigate, perhaps even find out the mechanism as which these beings are created. Probably to twist it to some nefarious purpose. It would be good if they couldn't do that.
I agree. The idea that our religiously affiliated rivals would be able to tap into a source of endless foot soldiers is not a prospect that I find very exciting.
Yes, so that's number one on the list. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Number two was a village a little closer to the border. Once you've passed through the Minoan post, you head south for a few days, and you could come across a small town again. It's odd. It's strange. They report the appearance of demons in and around the village. When from my notes, from what I've been able to determine, the local contingent of guards haven't been able to find anything. I suspect they're probably coming from the forest just outside of town. They haven't caused any damage again, or done anything beyond hanging around. But it's of note, it's of interest. And where there are demons, there's probably someone who is, conjuring them. So either they could be a powerful ally or a bad enemy. So we could check that out. Yes. A little further south, there is right far down south, almost as far as Champor, there's a large swath of villages there that have recently boasted, well, not like blessed people. Blessed people. There's some entity in and around the area that seems to be sort of passing on abilities to people that prove themselves worthy. The accounts from there are less cogent because they don't read or write. But yes, so there's some entity down there handing out magic powers. We wouldn't want them allied with Vanna. So we could look into that too. On the eastern edge of Vanahar, where the palisade is set up, Vanahar has traditionally had issues with the barbarian tribes further east into the large forest. Lately, reports out of the town surrounding the palisade have been few and far between. Investigations that have been sent to the area. The few people I've been able to get down there to report empty villages. No signs of battle or bloodshed, just empty. Which is of course strange, but not high on Gensuchi's list of priorities. They are just border villages.
What is high on Gensuchi's list of priorities?
Well, that would be the visiting dignitary. There is a dynasty who probably owns the Legion, who's checking out the ruins in the capital city. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing there, but they seem to be in communication with the Sword Prince, and of course, if the Realm and Vanahar combine forces again, especially this soon, we might not be able to hold out against them. So that would need to be, investigated, looked at, hopefully nipped in the bud, proved, if you will, if you like plans. Okay. Oh, and one last thing. Shuffles through some more papers and things. Finds a small scroll and sort of just holds it out towards the group. Whoever's going to take this. Okay, thank you. My information networks in Vanahar are not as strong as they could be. If you could use that scroll and is anyone good with numbers? Good, excellent. Any merchant ledgers, anything financial, any information you can get, if you could just transcribe it into the scroll, that would give me more reach with my meager abilities to be able to help divulge more information for you as your journey through Vanna. It's carried by the numbers. The more I understand about an area, the more reach I have. If I have the numbers, then I understand it better.
Ledgers.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's important that the information is as exacting as possible. And of course, don't modify merchants' ledgers. That would cause all sorts of problems. Just the exact details. Copy over, so I can understand it better. So I have better reach with my. I'm still exploring, but I'm sure this will happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna be that guy. So I came here about a year ago, asking for a little bit of help regarding finding information for a series of books, perhaps location or just in general stories from the First Age.
Yes.
Yeah, any progress on that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Could I see some progress on that?
It's incomplete at the moment.
Yeah? Okay, I think those ledgers might be incomplete for a while, but I'll see what I can do.
You would only be hampering my ability to help you.
Okay.
Of interest, though, Tarala, from what accounts I've been able to find of the of Tiburana of old is that this ruin where the soldiers are is likely to have some connection with your kingdom. It could be a place where you could find more information, or yeah, it's a good place to look.
Her eyes light up.
Yes. See, in time, things come to fruition. It takes time.
Oh no, no doubt it takes time. Yeah, cards on table saying, "Could you please get some ledgers?" Sounds shady as hell, dude.
I'm not doing anything illegal.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Doesn't mean the head of the guard actually believes it. Doesn't mean I'm actually doing anything illegal either. I'm just saying, you sound shady.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause offence. You don't have to do it. Just help.
You haven't asked anyone else to have a look at my ledgers, have you?
No, I
Okay.
only know as much as I need to know about you to
Okay.
see the flows.
Does that mean you already have had access to my ledgers, or you don't actually need them?
No, it's just the merchant ledgers are just the easiest thing. If I could just study an area for that could take decades.
Hmm.
You know, once.
Yes or no? Have you looked at my merchant ledgers?
No.
Okay. Have you asked anyone to look at my ledgers?
No.
Do you intend on asking anyone to look at my ledgers? Stay out of my books?
I have no particular reason.
There you go. Same page.
I hope so.
Yeah.
If you don't want mission, I could find someone else.
No, I'm interested for the Tiburana backstory. How was this nation formed?
I don't know.
If anything, it's got answers about this.
I know where the
And she
regard is.
she gestures to the diclave on her back. I
Sorry?
mean,
She just
she says if anything, it might have some answers toward this. Gesturing to the diclave on her back, and this, like, she draws. Root might have remembered that she had a very rusty, busted-looking sword when she left, and now it's a very shiny, clean sword. Right now, unsocketed with the hearthstone. It's very shiny and clean, but plain.
Oh,
And she, assuming she had given it back to Arthur Shasta, she's like, may I see one of those stones?
He'll hand one of them off.
And which one?
felt in despair.
This time let's go green jade, or not green jade. Wood aspected.
Whatever. She sockets that in, and the blade, a vine sort of peers out of it, and where the socket is, it kind of florals.
oh,
It
oh.
takes on the aspect of the stone that's put into it.
That's very interesting. You would be needing that on your venture, I suppose.
Yes, but if we've got time beforehand, I wouldn't mind if you wanted to take a quick look at it, and we can see if we can glean anything from it.
Oh, you could stay as long as you like, I suppose, but these reports are a few weeks old. I don't know how things have advanced since then. I don't have live access to information about the area yet.
Well,
So
I mean, and wouldn't we have to take like at least a day to gather supplies and stuff for this trip?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, we can take the next day to look over it, because there's a lot of this thing that I don't know about. It's interesting to me.
I can see why. Great. So, thank you. We thank you for your patience and help and interest and assistance.
Tarala smiles and just says, "You're welcome."
Thank you.
Because
Tarala.
she's not gonna give him the same busting that Hand is.
Just the flat stare, like, thank you for all these things. Uh-huh. Keep it coming.
Okay. Well, I suppose there we'll take our first break. I say first break, I mean our break. So we'll grab some food, we'll grab some drinks. We'll come back. We'll have a quick discussion off stream about how everyone wants to proceed forward. Any things people want to prepare to go forward, and then we'll jump straight into the new story. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you soon. And welcome back. Hello, everybody. Just going to make sure that my system doesn't crash, and it didn't. Yay!
Yay!
We're here, we're live, we're back, we're together. Our lighting has been fixed, my hair has been adjusted. Camera smudges have been removed. We've discussed where we're going to go, and the players now have a pretty good idea what they want to do. So,
We leap right back into a discussion of having decided that we are going to go south. With Sagacious Hand discussing with the group, like, do I need to tone it down?
Yes, absolutely.
sorry, is this happening in character?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's set the scene. So, you've gathered together all your supplies. We'll have a quick discussion about who you want to take with you, if you're taking any attaches. But largely, you'll... it's not exactly a cover, but like there is like one of the Amulet Excelsior's like wagons that is the closest to size and style of an actual merchant wagon, without any additional bells and whistles and things, that you could pack into. You could all fit in there relatively comfortably, as well as another, say, 4 people. Of course, if you have additional animals, and like the elephant will have to walk, you can't go in the wagon. And you'll have whatever beast of burden you want, because you have quite a few, pulling the wagon. Either 2 horses, or an elephant, or not yet. They're huge. 2 horses or an elephant.
It will be Daisy, because Daisy is Gregor's mother.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we'll continue training. So, Daisy and Gregor.
Okay. So, what other attaches do you want to take with you?
I mean, Terrell is obviously bringing Karanthar because she loves that horse.
Yes. Karanthar can... You could probably ride Karanthar beside the wagon and then hitch up inside the wagon at night, that sort of thing.
Leaving.
Obviously, Johan.
Yep.
Obviously, Johan, yep.
Leaving.
No, we're gonna leave behind your biggest source of power.
Oh no! If only we had Johan. But I'm here, says Arthur Shasta. Your chopped liver. Sagacious Hand will actually ask Tarala of, like, because we're kind of sitting in a group all discussing this, put forth the suggestion of Ilva is going to be staying behind with the Amulet Excelsior. Like, her main calling in life is looking after other people and making sure their needs are met. So she will be focusing on the workers and like making sure the Amulet Excelsior is still running and happy and everything's working. But striking ball peen isn't integral to the everyday workings. Maybe it'd be nice if he came on the road with us. What do you think, Jade Phoenix Soul?
She nods at it and she says, "That's it's okay." And she also, I don't think there's anything like malicious about him. I'm fine with him. It's a dream. And Tarzar Shasta might be hearing this and being like, "What's going on here? What are you talking about?" At which point she's like, I don't know. I can't really see Shulk right now because my thing's only focused on Faye and hang on. I don't know why it's focusing.
I didn't mention any details, but if you wanted to mention details, now would be a time.
Yeah.
A time,
So,
not necessarily
yeah.
the time.
So yeah, since at this point she mentions it, and then she says, having dreams about the day Exalted and holding a sword with a striking ball peen's mark on it. I want to talk to you about the dreams, but not right now. We've got to figure out what we're doing first.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll have plenty of time on the road.
Exactly. Just getting that out there because you might. I don't want to sound crazy right now. But yeah, no, I mean, that would be good. And as well, in the event things happen, we have somebody who we can if the need arises, a skilled tradesman who can provide goods if we need to trade for route through things like that.
Yeah. Great cook too. Decent cook. Better than average cook.
You don't have to make me feel better. I mean, I'm still working on it.
That's because you don't give me advance notice. You're just like, oh, I'll grab a few of these ingredients. And, keep making sausage-filled omelets. Just saying.
Well, nobody's been telling me that they're bad.
No, that's... some of the people that you're serving to know that you can catch on fire. That's a conversation for another time. Althra-Shasta. Other than a day just to get ready, I think we're good to go. What are you, like, down south?
Arthur Shasha just kind of shrugs. He's like, I walked halfway across the east. I'm ready to go at any time.
Sagacious then does the dramatic breath in. It's like, okay, we're moving an awful far away from my general sphere of comfort. One moment, and he ducks out, starts ruffling through some papers, and brings it down to put between the two of you. I know that you spent a lot more time talking to people while we were in Sajan. I need help. I don't know where to look from this point. It's not crucial. She's hopefully not going anywhere. This is the information I have on Serene Hand. My mum.
Your mother?
I thought maybe she'd be in one of the crypts. She's not. It seems that because she is married a commoner, that she isn't anywhere immediately accessible to someone asking, hey, where's this person? I'd like to know where it is. Other than doing what we did in Sajan and door knocking some of the lower levels, which I'm fine to do, but I don't really know how to progress. I'm stuck on that. This is not important. This is just with everything that happened with Jonathan and everything that's happening. Looks at James.
I disagree. This is very important. I don't know what you people are like along the rivers here, but where I come from, there's nothing more important than your family and who you came from.
It feels digging into the past. I like to try and keep eyes on the future. So I'm out of my depth here. I need assistance. Can you help me look?
Yes, I mean, I won't lie, it's going to be a difficult task. Every day of delay adds a week of complications to an investigation, and much time has passed, but...
Bit of a cold case?
A little. But that won't stop me from trying.
Thank you. I didn't think it was important until Jonathan. Really? So, extra passengers? How about we take our Onyx Lord and Kyle? It's not exactly incognito, but they're certainly awesome company. And should we find anything that is not exigence related, but instead sorcery, we've got some people who are very much on key.
I mean, I've grown fond of their companionship during our travels. They are very, very interesting conversationalists. So I would not object. I would make a suggestion, though. feel entirely comfortable that any promissory notes or bank drafts that you have might be honored in Vanahar, especially if our identity is revealed in our efforts to support their enemies. And after what happened with Sajan, that was a close call on whether or not we'd get the financing for our operation. I think we should install several hidden compartments in the wagon where we can squirrel away as much physical currency as possible, and potentially one of our companion brain jars if the need arises. While I find their current physiological and spiritual state an interesting decision, and I don't think those in the realm will share my curiosity and respect for their ingenuity.
What's that? Shakedown root? Yeah.
For money.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually shake it.
Coins.
Just grab him and like
Couple die
all of
claims
us just
for
take
those.
turns.
Anyone else get
Shake well before serving.
Anyone else got a weird vibe on that? Like, I know he's not exactly great with socialization. I'm not necessarily the greatest unless I'm purposefully turning it on, so... No one else had a problem with that? Of just maybe picking up merchants? Like, that feels like theft. Like, outright, if you happen to... No? No one else?
I mean... Yeah, it's theft, but...
But... That's okay?
No, you're right, it's theft.
Like...
I don't know what he needs it for. I there's a reason you have a numbers person.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be related to how his powers in essence work.
Like, just the face, like, the deep frowns of, Alright. I think I'm going to share this information with Ilva regarding that someone might... The way their powers work is looking at our finances. I mean, a lot of it is like, how much hay and how much glitter. But no one needs to know exactly how much glitter or shoes I buy. That's... general levels of privacy. So, and just the physicality of like, okay, so the ambulance Excelsior will be remaining behind and restocking, and general worthy vacation for the staff after the nightmare that was Caldor. One wagon.
Yeah, think of it as a holiday for them.
Absolutely. But I won't be here. I'll be somewhere else.
Yeah, you'll be with your buddies, your friends.
Road trip.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's been 20 years, so other than the short trip to Sajan, all right. No. I'll pack. 3 or 4 wardrobes. We should be right. Starts listing off the levels of shoes.
And meanwhile, Tarala glances over at Arthur Shasta, and then back at it, it's like...
Yeah, so about the discussion we had about dialing it down.
Yeah. Sans, 5 3-story constructions.
I think we should take a more moderate wagon of somewhat, I won't say humble means, but something slightly more rustic than your typical fare, or at least by the standards of the Excelsior.
I mean, you've never gone camping, have you?
Sorry?
Camping. Leave all, civilized stuff behind, build a fire in the woods, construct a shelter out of, branches and stuff like that. Go fishing for
Yeah,
food.
I have, and it was awful.
Awful.
Both the construction and general experience. You kind of why I have that.
How could you come to that? Like, for instance, in my travels, one time I was in, oh man, it was at the end of the season of fire. Everything was parched and dried out. Nothing to eat on the trees. All the crops were gone. And I thought I would be going to bed hungry that night, but I was making a lean-to out of some fallen branches, and I realized they were riddled with termites, and I had both shelter and dinner at once. It's that kind of resourcefulness, that coming together of nature and creation to fulfill your needs. It's just so it's primal. It's fundamental.
I don't do primal.
And I just remember this with Dad, just going like out into. Sometimes we'd just take a holiday away, and we'd send an escort out some way, and then it would just be Dad and I going out to the woods, out east of Tiburana, and just he'd show me hunting, he'd show me all these things, and it was like, don't get me wrong, I'm not amazing at it, but it was fun. It was just him and I, so just living off the land, like it's why I learned how to cook.
And I admit, I do love your cooking. The stew that you made that night, even the cups of tea, like, they're full of heart. Just like looks at the sizes of the wagons, like, okay. We'll need to stop for supplies. Can I take it?
It'll be fun. We can barter. We can put on little mini shows, things like that. Stuff. We don't need the full palisade to entertain people.
I haven't done this since I was like 10. I'm not. Alright.
Good, that means it's only been 4 years for me.
Okay.
So by that logic, I'm still in great shape for it.
If we get into trouble, if we are starving and tired and wet and cold and everything is falling down, can I please kick down a door and sing a few songs and get some actual lodgings at least once or twice on this trip?
I have no objection to us going to an inn or anything like that.
Okay, there we go.
My objection is to over the course of a single day putting on 7 or 8 outfits, each one of which costing more money than the typical person in the region will make in a lifetime. That draws undue attention.
Yeah, and since we might be passing by the realm, they might wonder, how did this mortal
get so well dressed?
Yeah, how did this mortal wind up becoming like the despot?
People ask that all the time, though. And the answer
yes, but this
is
time it won't be a question posed, or a compliment posed as a question. This time it will be a serious question, the consequences of which could be our death if we answer it incorrectly.
Yeah, the question, if the realm asks it, is why aren't you paying us our cut?
Cut right here. All right. Am I sagacious hand or am I humble person?
Well, I don't think humble.
Is not a must.
We need to strike a happy medium. Like, you've had, I'm sure, guild factors or heads of city-states or regional priests pay you for services, correct? To do a show or come and tour?
Yeah.
Act like that.
Okay.
Like, asking you to act like a commoner, in the same way that I
No, that won't work. Commoner won't work.
In the same way I can't ask Gregor to make me a sandwich, because it is an impossible task for such a creature. That is a thing that, as talented as an actor you may be, is outside of your realm of possibility.
Okay, first off, though,
But merely acting like
telling him to make a sandwich and him failing, that's quitter talk. But, you know, I get your analogy, but that's quitter talk.
You would think so, but I've tried it several times with Johan. The issue isn't his lack of ability to manipulate the elements. It's that they inevitably will consume said sandwich themselves before they can finish it for you.
If Johan had more prehensile limbs, I'm certain the task would.
No, he would just make him consume his own sandwich faster.
But wait. And I've got an idea. You like performances. Why not we turn this into a long extended performance? Method act. Let's make up a backstory. Let's make you a traveling merchant.
You know, if you guys leave me alone for like 5 minutes, I'm going to basically create my own competition. Like, the traveling bard who's going to outdo Sagacious Hand. Oh.
No.
Oh.
You got something in a different field. Sagacious Hand is all about the entertainment field. You've got an amazing tailor. Silks and garments.
Damn it! Look, actually, that's a really good point. Striking Bullpeen is almost as famous as I am, if not more so. But only, I guess, no one really sees him. It's more the name.
If you met Dolce and Gabbana on the street, would you know who they were?
Exactly. Alright, guys. Your choice. 2 brand new names. Like, bang, bang. Yo, Bullpeen! Just general pull on over. It's like, alright.
Oh, what's all this ruckus? What's going on? Hand. I'm on holiday.
Want to go on a road trip?
I have to confess. I'm on holiday. I've had a... What do you want?
Thinking of going on a road trip south. You haven't had a chance to check out any of the new textiles, any of the new stories you might be able to incorporate into stuff. Do you want to come on a trek in that caravan? See the stars, see the smell of the trees, see the, yeah.
Pay me?
Yeah.
Oh, come.
Alright.
I'm sorry. See the smell of the trees.
That was my favorite. I'm like, you know what, we're gonna let that one slide.
Oh my god, they must be smelly.
I love it.
Alright.
You paying me?
Yeah.
Good. Right. Alright. What
Right.
you want?
So, 2 of us.
Yeah. Hammer.
Hammer.
Oh. Are we making up names?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, okay, hammer. No, just
No,
hammer.
just
One
hammer. Alright.
The hammer.
What's that called? Participle?
I don't know.
Particle? Yeah.
The
The.
hammer.
Yeah. Alright. Off.
What?
No, we're gonna work out the rest of it. Go grab your stuff. We're gonna get like 6 people and 2 heads in here. It'll be good.
Right, I guess guess I'll leave
Leave.
after being called. Jeez. My expertise doesn't grow on trees, you know.
Cool. On board, he's packing. Okay, we're doing this. And look, I've got someone who can recycle stuff. I don't need 6. I can do 2 a day.
What's her name?
Ilva.
No, the other one.
Oh, ooh, other one. I will find out for you.
Okay, one
you-
moment.
So you guys talk and give me a pseudonym. I'm a merchant prince.
I'm sorry. All I can get I'm stuck in my head is Prince Ali Fabulous Ali Ababa.
I'm not overdoing it, am I?
Do whatever you like.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I mean, question: do you have flawlessly impenetrable disguise?
I'm going to pick it up right now. So, yes.
Right now.
Okay,
Right
so
now.
good. I was gonna
Right now.
say because if that way you can mask who you are, and
I could
you
mask
could
it
be like
anyway. Regular disguise.
But what I'm saying is that way you could then be like from any direction.
Yeah. There she is. There she is.
Ah. Kaguya Carl.
Corral.
So you're waiting for us to come up with a name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Pick me something.
What was her first name again?
I've never seen her.
I'm gonna find a voice. Keep going. Sorry, I'm gonna find a voice.
There's an NPC that's about to enter, and I've never met them before.
All right. Let's see. We want to avoid ostentatious body parts because that would be too similar.
Before breakfast, it's after breakfast now. We're okay.
Ostentatious appendage.
Let's see.
Shut up, Kyle.
Pick.
You're a little bit more traveled than I am. What types of names do people more south use? What's the naming schemes?
Oh. I usually don't head south. I'm more major city areas. Heading towards
Out of
south.
character, I was actually asking Arthur Shasta.
Ah. Oh yeah, the
It's all
guy-
about sagacious hands.
Sorry, I was busy putting things into the Wu-Tang name generator to see if it came up with anything.
So hand is gonna be of. Or moon, or sun.
Well, first of all, what languages does Han speak?
River
Because I don't
Speak.
want to give you a name and a background from I'm like, Buongiorno.
Why
I
not?
speak Italian second best.
Italian.
Down in Vanaheim, they're more likely to speak, like, the general populace would speak forest, but, like, most of the, like, merchants and people who are likely to be customer facing would also speak river, because that would be their main. If anyone is traveling through who speaks a different language, it would probably be from the river provinces.
Do you speak River Tongue, Hand? Does Hand speak River Tongue?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
Tarala speaks it natively. It's her most comfortable tongue. She also speaks Forest Tongue, Dragon Tongue, and High Realm. She might be asking Arthur Shasta, hey, can you teach me Old Realm?
In fact, I can.
Because she's a nerd!
I mean, it's the root language of the universe. Why wouldn't you want to learn it?
Nerds. Totally on board with you.
Yarp.
Sagacia's just sitting there excitedly seeing what your name, between you, what is going to capture the essence of either himself or the character in which you wish to be travelling with. Because it's still going to be him, but a name. In the same way, and he starts speaking out loud specifically of, Tarala will always be Tarala, but there was a certain, there was something deeper within her. There is all, it isn't just a name, just a fake name. It becomes a part of her. And
yeah, she's thinking she's going through names, and then she's like, no, that's from a book. No, that's also from a book.
why can't it be from a book?
Because it's classic. Because that makes you a classic realm hero, not a merchant.
Why don't I become a classic realm hero? I know people are going to notice a realm, and they're probably going to prick up their ears and head on over, which is exactly the opposite of what we want, but at the same time, they'd wonder why someone would have a classic realm hero name. Yeah, I'm Catholic Canaan.
I was going to suggest you take a literal translation of the characters in your fake name, like 7 Jaguar Sky.
Jaguar's always a good one to add.
Transcendent fan of the 5 winds. Would anyone kill me if I took that one?
Oh, I've got one that could possibly, out of character, fantastic. It would possibly put a hook in there that would cause problems. If we're just, Tarala is just like, what about Magnificent Jaguar?
Magnificent Jaguar.
Out of character, for those not in the know, there is a very powerful lunar named Magnificent Jaguar. And, yeah. He might not like somebody taking his name.
I actually like Transcendent Man. That's good.
Yeah.
Go for it.
At least that way I'll remember it. You guys know that's the actual, High Realm transliteration for Sagacious Hand, right? It actually means Transcendent Fan of the 5 Winds. I am, complete guys, no, I am not bullshitting you. That is what it means. River speak to High Realm. This one can attest. Yeah. Alright. I am Transcended Fan. Following the winds of fortune. Oh, this is gonna be crazy.
That's a good backstory. Good.
Okay, so now that we've got a pseudonym sorted out,
We are heading south.
we're heading south. So, is there any other preparation and people you want to take with you?
I mean, beyond the fact that Tarala was going to give, just give Root a chance to look over the blade, see if he could glean anything in within the short amount of time.
In the time that he has, he takes copious notes, but isn't able to reveal anything. But he does say that, knowing more about what the blade does, he can track down other legends, because previously he's been looking for rumors surrounding an old rusted sword, right? But now that he knows that it can alter its shape based on which hearthstone is socketed into it, that opens up more possibilities for him to sort of refine his filters. You're an information scientist, you know what I'm talking about. He's going to refine his search. It will still take time for him to look, but it gives him new keywords to use, essentially.
His glorious celestial Google will return less results, but more relevant results.
Well, that's sort of how his powers as an exigent of law works. The more he knows about an area, the more he can glean from it. It's like, it's not
That's
quite...
actually really awesome. I do like this.
It's not quite like, sudden magical insight into things. It's like superlative putting pieces together and recognizing patterns that other people wouldn't necessarily recognize. Those sorts of things. So, but he needs like input to be able to use that ability. So, as he said, like he could study an area and its culture, but that can take like decades for him to garner enough information. But like finances are like fairly compact as well as far as information goes, and seeing how finances are handled and where the money flows and all those sorts of things tells you a lot about an area, and so he can use that as a shortcut to get more information.
Awesome.
Sagacious Hand,
Yes.
you said you were going to go talk to Ilva about something. Do you remember what it was?
Letting her know where we are heading, make sure that she is, we are going to be gone for an extended period of time. If she can just make sure everything is, okay with the troop in general.
Great. Anything about the books?
Yeah, has anyone looked at the books? Has anyone asked about the books?
No.
No?
Books are in order. Well, except for one minor detail, but you know about that.
Is that the one minor detail that happened in Sajan?
No.
No? What's the one minor detail I should know about?
You know, like a year or two back, you wanted to go into that venture.
You'll have to remind me.
You were looking on, you were looking at, the way you explained it was the most ostentatious parade that looks I had ever seen. Sparkle, sparkle, glitter, glitter, jazz hands.
I don't remember that, but it sounds like me. Go on.
You wanted to commission a large amount of...
No, go. I'm day drinking. Go. What?
Is it better if I don't tell you?
No! I'm curious what I have been doing.
You came and you
Saw and I conquered.
you accessed the book without my knowledge. And as she launches into this explanation, your shadow can fill in some of the blanks. You decided to go into a business venture, and you commissioned a large amount of armaments.
2 years ago.
No,
A year ago.
a couple months before you went to Tirana.
I don't. Out of character. Did I do this?
Yes, we discussed. Yes. Remember when you had to forge your own signature?
They do not remember this.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So what we're discussing is something that Vay and I had discussed was in her backstory, where so Sagacious Hand doesn't have complete control over his own finances. He has a financier, and so that's what Ilva is there for. She's like a mistress of the book. She looks over everything. That's why when he tried to get money out in Sajan, he wasn't able to do it immediately because he had to remember that he has to sign his name differently depending on who he's dealing with. Because the signatures in the ledgers and the records that the banks and that not have aren't his actual signature. There are a facsimile of his signature that has been used as his official signature.
I have to forge the forgery of my signature.
You have to forge the signature. Anyway, but in your backstory, you wanted to commission a large, a parade for Lookshy. You were looking into going to a venture, and you commissioned a large amount of armaments.
Cool. I completely have forgotten that, which is totally within the character, so that works.
Okay.
So I'll just say yes.
Well, that explanation happens. Like, other than that, one event, these books are squeaky clean.
Okay. Excellent. Until I can figure out whether that is actually a positive or a negative if someone decides to have a look at them, we'll just keep it on the down low.
You gonna show anyone my books?
I know! Thank you. You are fantastic, Ilva. I love you. I'm going to miss you. I will be back in probably a few months. and I trust that you can keep things running. I will not die. I will be awesome.
Thank you, Hen.
Yes.
Your appreciation is much appreciated.
I bring her in for a big hug. Alright.
Is now a bad time to talk to you about a raise?
No, now is the perfect time, and I say yes.
Good to know.
Okay, before we leave, I'm going to talk to Root, and I'm going to ask for money to help, because we're helping Lambert Heights specifically. Like, physical funds as opposed to...
Are we talking about a loan? Or
If you feel like...
investment?
If we can consider it an investment.
I might have some if physical resources available, yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Some help very much in innkeeper fees. Thank you.
Right, yes, okay, yes, absolutely. Good, and I don't know how that was going to end up being a scene, but like he organises, you have like a couple sacks of silver.
Yay! A night's accommodation, yay!
A night's accommodation.
Well, you've got to shout everyone drinks, otherwise it's rude. Okay.
Are you taking the Onyx Lord with you?
Yes.
Are you taking Kyle with you?
Yes. Carantha, Johan, Onyx Lord, Kyle, and Striking Bullpen.
And you.
And Gregor.
And Greg.
Yeah. And Daisy.
Well, Daisy's pulled the carriage. So.
Yep.
Alright. Okay, any other preparations before we go, or shall I move on?
Send word to Kalis that this is where we are heading, and we'll be stopping at the post offices on the way, so to keep him updated. So we will, like, if he leaves anytime soon on a quick amount, we'll catch up with him.
Cool.
We're not going at a breakneck pace, are we?
Not necessarily, no.
Have fun with Lotus!
Okay. So, we're packing up onto the caravan and heading south. With everything you need in tow, you set off early in the morning. The sun brings this nice, calm warmth to the air. The river that runs along this area, you have to travel down along the length of the river for a short while before coming to a large crossing, where you would move across and enter into the region that is controlled by Vanaha. Now, close to the border of Vanaha, by only a few miles, is the Minoran Post. It's usually the first stop along the trade road that leads south towards the capital. Although it's not officially sanctioned by the regime of the Sword Prince, the entrepreneur Minor, the Very, Very Little, sourced funding from a guild caravan or two to set up the rest stop. The success of the venture is largely credited to the jewel tea houses lying either side of the road and their culinary masters. The lofty crane serves highly refined cuisine, as much artistic expression as satiating meals. By compare, the muddy crab might have appeared crass, but its specialty laid in the hearty, earthen foods commonly found in peasant households, but with an undeniable flair for ascended gastronomy. Though Minor had long since passed, the stewardship of the post has passed down through the centuries along strict family lines, and the tea houses too, served and maintained by descendants of the first two masters. So, this post is it sort of sits astride the road, just on the other side of this bridge that you travel across. The bridge is fortified. There are some soldiers there, like a guard post that is maintained by Vanahan soldiers. They don't have you don't sort of have travel papers or anything like that to identify yourselves necessarily, unless you've decided to create or forge something or take something.
take travel papers?
What would your travel paper say?
Culture shock. Are we merchants? Or should I say Arthur Shasta? Are we selling stuff?
I think here's the thing. None of us have a point of bureaucracy between the three of us to rub together. So I think that lie will fall apart really quick. So we should just be rich, spoiled youth, the sons of wealthy people further east who are out enjoying life and all that it has to offer when you have power and limitless wealth.
Okay. Tourist visa. Before we leave, Sarah, who's still recovering after the zombie attack, we have her assistance.
Right. I did not forget about Sarah at all. That did not happen. Okay, so when you come to the guard post, the captain of the guard here introduces himself as something. I've forgotten. I'll have to look at that later. He introduces himself and asks to inspect the caravan, comments on the uniqueness of this caravan being pulled by an adult elephant, with a child elephant being sort of walking along in tow. When you introduce yourself as just rich people travelling around, he doesn't ask too many questions. He inspects the caravan, he doesn't find anything that would be like on his list of things that he should stop you for, and so lets you go through with a word of warning that there have been troubles around Vanahar of late, and for personages such as yourselves, you should make sure that you are in a town by sundown, that your belongings are locked up safe, and you don't stray too far from the roads. He doesn't elaborate on what any of these dangers are. He just lets that hang before nodding to his troops, who sort of open up the gate and allow you across the border, entering directly into the Minoran post. The post itself, as I described, sort of sits astride this beginning of this great trade road. There are only a few buildings here. There's the Lofty Crane and the Muddy Crab both serve as sort of eateries and inns both at the same time. They sit directly across from each other, and you can tell from the outside the kind of establishment that it is on the inside. The Lofty Crane is very straight lines, very ordered, silk draped across its windows, those sorts of things. It's very refined. Whereas the Muddy Crab almost looks sort of just cobbled together by compare. The structure is sound. It's just they haven't put much effort into establishing a fancy decor. It is a big, serviceable building. It's a big serviceable building, really. There are representatives from each tea house out the front, sort of announcing the kind of cuisine within. You can tell that there's a faint amount of hostility between the two of them. They are in direct competition with each other, but the other travellers and people moving through this area seem to fairly equally divide between the two. So neither seems to be particularly lacking in clientele for there to be any sort of outward hostilities. Just sort of the basic idea that not only are they in direct competition, their philosophies are almost exactly opposite to each other. You don't have enough time left in the day to move on beyond this place before nightfall. If you follow the guard's direction and make sure that you're in situ before night falls, then this would be where you need to sort of set yourselves up. Other than the two tea houses, there's a not like a full smithy. It's like a small workhouse that has some basic carpentry and ironworks inside, mostly just for sort of repairs and upkeep for the merchant caravans and things that travel through. The inns aren't packed to the rafters, but they are quite full. There's a lot of people who move through here pretty much every single day. So you can tell that the people who run these places are quite affluent, even if they're not necessarily looking to expand very far beyond where they are. If you do decide to stay here, either it would be the Muddy Crab or the Lofty Crane, or you could find camp just outside of town elsewhere.
Arthur Shasta will sort of size up the two buildings and look at his companions and say, I think we will have significantly better conditions and less bed bugs if we stay at the Lofty Crane. But the Crab does seem like the kind of place where information is more likely to flow to the right people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's classic in stories. It's the rundown places where all the information is. That's the place where, you know, everybody's like, oh, look at me, I'm sleeping on soft pillows, you know. We're used to that. But this place, that one's got character. And characters.
Hearty meals it is.
Okay, so when you take your wagon, you decide you're going to stay at the Muddy Crab. There is, when you sort of pull up towards the front and sort of let the hawker know what your intending is, he basically gets a basic count of who you are, finds out how many beds you're going to need, finds a room that's available, and this whole thing takes about 10 minutes worth of sort of consulting his notes and sort of speaking to people inside. They have to rearrange some of the quarters inside, just to make sure that there's enough room for you as a group to take up residence inside. Other than that, they offer to sort of take the wagon and, you know, look at maintaining it and all that sort of stuff themselves. They'll feed the animals, and you all get a hearty meal tonight for dinner, plus another hearty meal tomorrow morning for breakfast, which should see you through most of the day. And all for the cost of, like, some amount of silver that would normally seem expensive, except that they really are giving you the all service. If you were just some you know, person with nothing but sandals looking to stay, then it would be exorbitant. But you're quite a large group of people, and so the amount that they
Group booking prices,
that sort of thing. Yeah. Yo.
Just making sure, is this a ground floor location for purposes of a certain charm in case during sleep that sort of thing happens?
Actually, your room would be on the top floor of this place, but the eatery takes up the whole bottom floor.
I mean, she's like, this isn't ideal. I like knowing what's going on beneath my feet.
Do you want to stay in the
But,
By compare, the Lofty Crane is only one level, but it's a much larger complex.
Hey, we're rich nobles. Like, Sagacious Hand's gonna whisper to Jade Phoenix Soul. It's like, or if you've got a different name at this point, it's like, you know, we could just say, oh, we do not like the accommodations, and go across the road.
she looks at Arthur Shasta and
Well, I don't see why we can't stay at the Lofty Crane but drink at the Crab. It is not uncommon for those of wealth and those on vacation to engage in what is known as slumming it.
I don't think this is really considered slumming it. I think it's just a different aesthetic. I mean, if they're in direct competition, if one was better than the other, then there wouldn't be a competition. They must be good. You know, don't judge by appearance and all. General, like, to the heads in the jars.
I mean, she's
It's like, I do judge them on appearance. The way they're able to keep the brain preserved in there takes considerable skill. I mean, you can see very little degradation to the frontal lobe.
What do you want to do? Do you want, dare I say it,
Well,
split up?
she whispers to, "You're the. Remember, we're with you. We're the one that's so you pick."
Aren't we all? Like, what's the point of me dressing down? You guys dress up. Also, and just like starts actually switching to dragon tongue. Miss Princess, like actual slumming it person. Like, no, this is we're all picking. This is group endeavor.
She looks to Arthur. Okay, first off, she checks. Does this one allow large flaming dogs?
Either establishment will be able to facilitate your stay for the night. They both have stables. They're both able to sort of feed the animal. It's more just the manner in which they do so.
What she's looking at is like she glances at Arthur Shasta, then down at Johan, and is like, "Well, is our companion able to stay Is our companion able to stay with us?" And as if I think she flicks a small piece of food for Johan to gobble up.
I don't see why he wouldn't be allowed to stay with us. I mean, in the worst case scenario, if he had to stay with the wagon, you'd know it's well guarded.
All right. Sounds like crane. We'll head over to the crane. We'll book in there, and we'll book in here. We're done. See, helping income for the region. We can stay wherever we want. And just kind of looking at the sack of gold, I'm like, it'll be fine. Official plan: we are booking in at both. Both groups are booked in. Whoop! Lifting my foot.
Where shall you take the wagon then?
We will hitch the wagon to the... What's it called? The crab.
Oh,
We'll
Muddy Crab.
hitch the wagon to the crab, and we will be having dinner at the Muddy Crab and breakfast at the crane.
Oh, okay. And you're staying at the crane?
Yes. Sound good? There we go.
Okay.
Two lots of accommodation. Best of both worlds.
After you finish making all of your arrangements, the sort of the servers for the Muddy Crab are able to, they take the wagon, they get everything put down. The Johan gets a nice good bath, and the Gregor and Daisy both also get a nice bath down, wash down. You can tell that they're used to dealing with if they're not necessarily do this every day, they've at least done it at some point, or have some kind of just innate talent for getting in with the animals. Essentially, you can tell they all get along with the animals really, really well, and they work together to get everyone sort of washed, dressed down, sort of set up for the night and fed. So the layout of the Muddy Crab in the eatery where you're going to be having dinner is there's this enormous fire pit right in the centre of the whole building, and so the kitchen is again in the centre around this giant fire pit, and the counters that all the food gets served out onto form this sort of square circle around the fire pit in the centre. So as soon as you enter in, you can smell all of the food being cooked, and despite the fact that there's like a fairly wide range of cuisine being offered here, none of the smells really overpower each other. They blend together really, really warmly. It's not so much spicy as it is sort of warm and seasoned. The air is just thick with... You could almost feel satisfied just smelling what's being cooked. It's all, as I mentioned before, fairly sort of peasant fare, like what you would expect to get from any old random household that a mother or farmer is, throwing together for their family. But there's an extra special amount of care being put in. It is sort of food of the earth, food of the commoner, but it doesn't taste like just any old person threw it together. Most of the dishes on offer are good hearty roast meats, stews. There's not a lot of I don't want to say fancy, but you wouldn't get a risotto here, for example. You might get a stir fry. Just things that are quick and easy to throw together and cook, but don't necessarily sacrifice on any amount of a flavour. It's all quite potent in that particular regard. So whatever it is that you order, they're able to make it taste nice. It's really filling, and you find yourself in whatever serve that you order, like whether the size that you order, whether it's a big plate or small plate, whatever you're used to eating, you find you only get through about half as much as you would normally eat before you start feeling really not full bloated, but just like, wow, I'm really satiated with just that. I could keep eating, but I certainly don't need to. The atmosphere in here is quite sort of open and jovial. There's no partitions or anything. There's just these wooden benches everywhere, and people sort of just clop around onto the benches. There are servers moving around, sort of popping down plates of food. There's not much care put into the presentation of this. So when they sort of just, slop a soup into a bowl, without cleaning the edges or anything like that, just plopped in and there you go. And so some of the food might not look particularly nice, but it all tastes great. The eatery area is quite full, as I mentioned. It's lively. There's a small stage right up towards the back where there's this sort of accompaniment of musicians sort of just playing some old folky songs. But cutting above everything is just the sound of raucous conversation. There is mead, ale, beer, anything you can think of, just flowing free all over the floor. Not all over the floor. I mean, everyone's drinking. Everyone is drinking. Everyone is inebriated in some way, shape, or form. They're all just having a great time. That's the atmosphere of this place. Most of there's no candles and sconces or anything like that set up around. When night falls, the light from the fire pit right in the center where the kitchens are is enough lighting for the whole room.
Wow.
Which does mean that everything's in stark contrast, because there's only one source of light, and it's otherwise quite dark. But you can see what you're doing. The food smells great. It tastes great. If you do decide to have a drink, they've got this massive list of various aged alcohols and things like that, or water. If you want to drink just water, those boring people who drink just water. And yeah, so it's a very open, very communal sort of air. So it's very easy to strike up conversation with pretty much anyone you want. There isn't anyone here that particularly stands out amongst everyone else. They're all just travellers. Most of them are sort of either merchants or the guards and things from the merchant caravan who've decided to eat here rather than the Lofty Crane, just because they prefer the atmosphere here. Everyone here is itinerant. You can other than the people who actually work here, you can be pretty sure that nobody has spent more than a night here unless they've come past more than once.
Ooh. Transient population.
Mm-hmm.
Out of character, Thrashasta, did you want to chat to anyone? Do you want to make some friends? Listen to the goss.
So, what's the term that I have? So I don't have any larceny, but I do have investigation and Watchman's Infallible Eye. Who looks shady here? Because I would like to strike up a conversation with them. Or if it's everyone here looks kind of shady. Who's the shadiest?
Sagacious hand, because there's that charm.
Well, with a quick glance, no one looks shady necessarily. But if you want to sort of get a deeper read of the room, I'll ask for a perception larceny. Or investigation.
Can you roll me 9 dice?
9?
It's been a few months on excellency, but only 3.
3 successes.
So who looks like a good source of information?
Getting a good read of the room, sort of looking around, sort of hiding it behind either eating or drinking, you get a good sense that while no one in the general populace of the area is necessarily of particular note, save one exception, which I'll get to in a moment, all of the wait staff talk to pretty much everybody. Every time they come by a table, they become part of the conversation that's happening there at the table. When they get back to the kitchen, the whole time they're working, they're talking. So you get the sense that even if nobody is necessarily sort of trying to, get as much information as possible, those who work in the kitchen have access to pretty much the most amount of information in the whole area. Except that it's all given to them by second hand. So you would be weighing up quantity over quality. If you could just turn to the person next to you, the table over, and strike up a conversation with them. Based on the air in the room, you're quite sure they would be open. But if they have any, if they have any sort of nefarious reasons for being in Banahar or anything like that, crime related, you're not terribly sure. Everyone looks pretty friendly. The only exception to all of this, as I mentioned, is there's a table over by the entrance that, again, on first glance, doesn't look too different to anyone else, except that you actually recognise one of the people at the table, and it's one of the guards from the post. They're not in uniform. It doesn't necessarily look like they've tried to disguise themselves. You just recognise their face. And they're there amongst a bunch of other people. Either they're also guards or they're someone else, you're not sure. You don't recognise them, just that one guard from the gate when you pass through.
Alright, yeah, I'll sit across the table from him.
And strike up a conversation, or?
Oh yeah.
Give me a leave it.
So Arthur's Hostel will kind of sweep aside anything that might be in his way and sort of haughtily sit down and gesture to one of the wait staff and calls out to bring them a pitcher, and look over at the person across the table and says, "You look thirsty. You should drink with me."
Yeah, I'm a bit thirsty. Why not? Yeah, let's all. And starts talking to the whole group, and the whole table's just like, yeah. And they start sort of banging on the table, and not just one, but 5 pitchers get brought over. It's just frothing over the top with this chilled ale.
Chilled.
Ooh.
They start
Oh, this
pouring
is
it into
good.
their cups and throwing it down and pouring himself a second one.
It's like after all these days on the road, drinking nothing but warm swill, this hits me. This hits the right spot.
talking. Sorry, yeah, chill. Yeah. You know, you know, there's you know, them here at the crowd really know how to serve you. You know, a long day on the guard post. Oh. Boy, it's getting hot too, isn't it? We're moving into fire season.
Oh, yeah. I don't think we planned our trip with that in mind, but you know, you just nap during the day and you have fun at night.
Oh, too right, mate. Yeah. You're from that caravan of nobles passing through. What you looking for?
Fun and good times. I mean, you seem like you're a man with his pulse on the community. You seem to know what's what. I mean, everyone's coming where you're at. If anyone's going anywhere, they're coming through where you're at, right? So I'm sure you know everything.
Huh. Yeah, I do know quite a bit. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Well, you know, if you want to just party, like, go no further than the Menorah fucking post. I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, no offense. I mean, I know you have ties here, but like, I don't want to just party here. I want to party everywhere. Where in Vanahar? Like if you had the money, if you weren't tied down here, like where would you go? What would you do?
Oh. Well, you know, I haven't been to the capital in a while. Here they got some good. What do they call them? The B-drug person.
Oh.
Where the Blue District.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Venus myself.
Yeah, that one. They and them ladies, they've got.
Oh, Rachel!
Rachel.
What were you saying about Rachel?
How the fuck did you get her name? I mean, they just, I don't know, coy on the fan and they just dance. Fuck, man. Fuck.
50 dinar.
The fuck are you at 50 dinar?
I got more ways.
Yeah, I see you drinking here every night. There's no fucking way you have 50 fucking dinar.
That's cause Joe lost it. Hey!
Oh, Joe, he's lost the dinars!
The ribbing starts regarding gambling. Meanwhile, Sagacious Ham's watching you. It's like, is he asking the guards for drugs?
Is
Right
he
now, I'm
getting
getting
some
the
of
guards
the
drunk.
reefer?
Hey, where do you go to find a good time at nighttime? It's either prostitutes or drugs.
Like, but I heard the castle's got all those hoity-toity dragon-blooded in it right now. Like, I want to have a good time. I don't want some asshole acting like he's better than me, or some priest coming down and telling me to.
Oh, yeah, why? Yeah, there's fuck, mate. Yeah, but like, she may as well have a bulletin hanging off her shoulder. I mean, fuck, man. She's like, she puts all of them fabulous ladies to shame.
How hot is she?
Pretty hot.
She's so hot, she...
Would-
you're not from this, you don't understand the culture. Joe, how hot is she? 12! Useless Joe.
Fred, what the fuck are you going on about? You're drunk, Fred. Go home. By home, I mean bed. Go to bed. Bed, Joe. Bed.
So out of character, that was beautiful. I love you. What is your intention?
Just to get the border guards drunk and tell me about things coming across through the area. It's like, This strange foreigner is suspicious. Let's read intentions. No, he's on the level. Okay.
All the alcohol.
I mean, they're pretty easy to entice into getting drunk. They're not used to, like, people don't invade Vanaheim. People don't sort of commit espionage across the border. They certainly don't do so here at the Minoran Post. Or if they do, they lay low until they get further inside, because the suspicious characters being suspicious here are pretty bad at their job, right? Yeah.
Usually step one of covert operations isn't draw attention with the local police at the bar. So...
So they become quite friendly, and they basically tell you that, like, as far as they're concerned, nothing interesting happens in Vanaheim. Not that they think that their job is useless, but like they get paid to do their job, and that's pretty much the only reason they're doing it. You do get a little bit of sort of not because they aren't necessarily very politically savvy, but you do get the general impression that like Vanaheim is ruled by like certain family or clans, certain specific clans. Each of the clans are modelled after a animal totem of some kind, and the Sword Prince Gensuji rules over them not because he's like the biggest baddest of the bunch, because he actually owns them all. So like 80% of all business ventures in Vanaheim are owned. As in, like, every business venture in Vanaheim is at least in part owned by Sword Prince Kensuji. So all of the different sort of family clans come together. They were like a mercantile combine that came together, and Sword Prince Kensuji is the latest in a long line of Sword Princes who have sort of like inherited a large portion of the wealth of the nation. So it's like, if you're a guard, you can't sort of just, you make good money, but like you don't really have a lot to spend the money on, because like you live, you pay for entertainment, but beyond that, like you can't like go out and buy property easily, because like that would infringe on the like the mercantile freedoms of some of the clans. You can't just go up and set up a business. Like, you need to be sponsored by one of the clans or Gensuji himself, that sort of thing. So so the people here are relatively happy in that like most of their needs are met, but there's not much in the way of like social maneuvering. Like, you can't sort of go from a row long up to a high run in it. You can't sort of buy your way to the top. You really have to be part of one of the clans, or so business savvy good that you can somehow finance your way to the top, because everything is owned by Gensuji. At least in part.
Alright.
How much longer do you have, Kel?
About a little under an hour.
Oh wow, cool.
As for other information about the area, you're able to get some very basic, like less information than Root gave you about the 5 different things happening in the region. They've heard some rumors, but like they ignore most of them, sort of thing. They do know about the Imperial attachment in the ruins to the east, but they mentioned that they are essentially an attaché to the dignitary that's currently in the capital. But one piece of information you do get out of them is that they didn't come here for the ruins. They came here to meet with Prince Gensuji, and then they also went to the ruins when they found out about them.
Ah.
Beyond that, they don't have much of interest to say that you don't already know.
So, I mean, what about the Sword Prince guy? Like, I hear a lot about him, but I mean, other than the fact that his title is Prince, and apparently he has a very important piece of cutlery. What's his deal?
His deal. Fucking owns everything, mate. Like, how do they become like part Walker?
Because they're getting more drunk.
No, we're getting more drunk, right? Joe, what's his deal? He's a guy, owns a lot of shit. He's a big sword or something. Wouldn't want to fight him.
Has he actually got a sword though?
Yeah. Well, Mavis said that she spoke to Alfred, who spoke to Jolene, who spoke to Billy, who says that he saw someone who said that he had a sword. Yeah.
Yeah, Mavis got a gun drunk though.
Ah, you can't just ignore what someone says because they don't have teeth. Not having teeth doesn't make you stupid, necessarily, as far as I know.
Except in Joe's case, right, Joe?
No. Joe was an idiot. That's how he lost his teeth. How long gonna make me be drunk?
Because I don't know any details, I'm just like random drunk person number 5. Like,
That's fine. That's fine. You're doing good.
Yay. What's Jay Phoenix soul? Like, because I don't think we sat down at the table with you. We're just watching from the other table going, what is he doing?
I mean, I'm slightly tempted to completely be a complete hypocrite and just try to get the music louder and just start leading everybody in a rocket song dance thing. Because why not? Meanwhile, Borhan's just like, you're just the one that told me to keep it down.
Incognito. Yeah, so you're able to have a pretty nice time with the guards here. They're not all guards, they're like friends of the guard, basically. They come from, most of the other people at the table are actually from neighbouring villages who have come here specifically because this is... What was his name again? What did you call him?
Joe?
Not Joe, this guy.
Oh.
The guard that you recognise. It's his, like, night off. He's on a bit of a holiday. And they're aware, so they've travelled here to... Because this is where the best, drink and swell and food is in the local area. So they've come here to visit him while he's, like, having his night off, and he's able to sort of drink, get drunk, be merry, that sort of thing. Yeah. Any other questions or things you want to do tonight, or just carousing with the guards?
No, mostly carouse and get a sort of lay of the land.
Yeah, like I'm trying to determine so people seem to be enjoying themselves, but are they really enjoying themselves?
This is an Ambulance Excelsior level enjoyment. It's a few notches down.
Few notches
You
down.
see crowds have a much better time. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're having a nice time. They are enjoying themselves. But they aren't being entertained.
And unfortunately, a little bit of hand has rubbed off on Tarala phrasing. But yeah, it's very, very hard not to just take the fire aspect and just be like, this is good, but it could be better. And I think Hand might, because just given how well he knows Tarala, might even see the little wheel turning.
And just seeing like
this. And she's just like almost like you could almost see the face, but.
Why don't you go talk to the harp? Or no, that's both a harp and a drum. That is a one-man band. Why don't you go talk to him? That he would probably be here all the time. Get a bit more information.
Good point. Good point. I've got a better idea.
Oh no.
Before I talk to him, And what she's going to do, she's going to start. She's going to start heading toward him, and then as he's playing, because he's got the harp and the drum, and as soon as like a beat starts getting in, she's going to start stamping and joining in, starting to carouse everyone into a full-fledged, like, you know, just dancing to everything, and whipping out words on the fly, like they like advertising the crab, because it's like, well, I can advertise the Excelsior. I'm pretty sure I can advertise the tea house. Get more people to want to stay, hang out, carouse. And at the end of it, she turns to the musician, like, give him a hand. And everything, trying to instill both in the crowd the idea of inflaming them. Yeah, this is a place to come to have a good time. And then in this guy, like, hey, this person's pretty good. And, you know, before she tries to talk with him, basically creating a good first impression.
Alright, cool. Let's give that a charisma performance.
Charisma plus performance, I am going to burn 4 motes to add 2 automatic successes, and it negates the penalty for targeting multiple people. Let me just double check real quick something on a charm that I had just recently bought. I just need to see how it works out, because I am using Talented Improvisation.
Okay. I need much more jaunty music playing or something, but I don't have anything like this.
That is, so that is going to be 5 motes personal. It's reflexive. Not that it matters, this whole thing is going to put her into wood aura. But after hearing a few notes and everything, after making a performance roll, she re-rolls Essence non-1 failed dice. If she uses a stunt to explain how she recovers from her, if she uses a stunt to explain it, the charm's cost is reduced by the stunt's level.
Okay.
And
We've
that
already got a
would be if she
1-point
made
stunt just for
a,
describing your action.
So what?
You would get a 1-point stunt based on the description you've already given me. Do you want to try and push it further, or...?
I am, because, like, I'm going to, like, get in, like, I actually whiffed up kind of a chorus for the end, where she's just like, grab a swig, dance a jig, down where everyone's fab and no one's drab, up in the muddy crab.
Well, I think everyone just laughed, didn't they?
They did.
Alright, I'll give that a 3-point. How many dice you got?
No, that's pretty much it. So that grand total comes to 4 motes personal for the excellency, and then since you said 3 points, so that would make the other charm 2 motes. Because as she does it, she stumbled her way in at first, almost looking like she herself was a little tipsy before turning it into a raucous thing.
So number of dice?
So the number of dice is Charisma 3, Performance 4, and 2 non-1s will be re-rolled.
Does that include the stunt?
Oh, yeah, that's right. The stunt is 2 more dice. So, yeah.
So you've rolled 4 successes, and you re-roll 1, you said?
I re-roll 2 non-1s. Two dice that didn't come up 1.
Okay, cool. So that's an extra 2 dice. So that you've rolled 4. Nothing additional. So you've rolled 4 successes plus 2 from the stunt is 6, plus the 2 you bought is 8.
Awesome.
Oh, whoopsies. Okay. I wish I had more appropriate music playing. Unfortunately, I don't have anything appropriate to put on. So I'm actually going to stop the music for a second. So the best way I can describe this is as you sort of jump up and start to not so much sing, but like your staggered steps start to create a beat that joins in with the music that's already playing as you sort of take someone up in arm there, you know, you swing them around and they've still got their big clay cup in hand. You know, a bit of their ale spills and you sort of, you know, clap them into someone else and the two cups sort of, you know, click together sort of thing. And that starts to create its own rhythm as you get more people up and they're sort of, everyone's sort of cheering and clapping their cups together and all their mugs together. And, you know, clap, 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 clap. Sort of almost Beauty and the Beast sort of the mug song. That's yeah, that sort of thing. And it sort of it just gets more and more intense and more of the people start to sort of get up from their seats and you know, you don't need a great amount of, you know, musical knowledge to be able to follow a beat, and that's what makes this so easy for everybody. They can either stamp their feet, clap their hands, or sort of clap their jugs together, and ale's going fucking everywhere, you know, sort of thing. But nobody really cares. The service staff are all, you know, cheering and clapping along with what's going on. And once you've got everyone whipped into this big crescendo, you finish off with your nice chorus, and everyone sort of just slams their ales down on the table all at once. There's this big sort of sound, and then everyone just erupts into this great applause and cheering and screaming for this drumming harpist on stage. And with that, we will be ending our session today. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming in, watching. Thank you very much for joining us. Thanks very much for following along with YouTube, if that's where you're joining us from. Please join us again next week. We'll be picking up. If Fluffy Hero is able to join us, he'll be jumping in along. I'll find some way to insert him. Otherwise, we'll continue on with the current plotline. I'll discuss experience with everybody after the session's completed. And we're going to start looking into promoting our Solas into the Essence 2 bracket, as they've now got enough experience after that first story is complete. So please join us again next week to find out what happens as they further adventure into Vanahar, the friendships they forge, the enemies they create.
And hypocrisy they show.
Thanks very much. This is Alkabash, who's signing off. Thank you very much.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Hey guys.